Accused of sexual harassment and assault by Rodney Lil Rod Jones.
Ron, any comments? Any comments on the trial so far? The opening statement?
He's having his day.
He's having his day?
He's having his day. We trust the justice system.
Thank you, sir.
God is good.
The new allegations against Sean Diddy Combs, a music producer, is accusing hip-hop mogul of sexually assaulting him and forcing him to have sex with prostitutes.
The man who ruled hip-hop, the billionaire mogul who turned every party into a headline, Sean Diddy Combs. But now, behind the luxury, lawsuits are peeling back a chilling reality. And it all came crashing down when Diddy's former producer, Lil Rod, took the stand with shocking allegations that shook the entire music industry. Lil Rod, real name Rodney Jones Jr., wasn't an outsider. He worked closely with Diddy on 11 tracks from the Love album, Off the Grid, even earning a Grammy nomination. But now he's filed a $30 million lawsuit, claiming what happened behind closed doors was anything but music. His accusations go beyond celebrity gossip. According to him, this wasn't a one-time incident. It was a pattern, carefully hidden, but systematically executed.
Behind closed doors, but as those whispers start to grow and get louder, you potentially could see greater civil litigation. They're saying in this case they want to fight it. Potentially we see a jury trial out of here, but this is based on sex trafficking allegations as well as claims that are criminal in nature.
As in the lawsuit that he lived and traveled with Combs from September 2022 to November 2023, during which time he recorded hours of video and audio of Combs, his staff, and others engaged in serious illegal activity.
Reads a lot like what we saw in the R. Kelly case in the EDNY, where they're talking about this being a criminal enterprise that's all feeding towards this one individual's depravity of wanting drugs and sex and rock and roll and everything in between, that everyone seemed to know and go out and facilitate what Sean Diddy Combs wanted. Even in part of these allegations or these complaints, they call his chief of staff the Ghislaine Maxwell to P. Diddy's Jeffrey Epstein, saying that this was a total sexual enterprise to feed into his desires.
To raise $50,000
right
to sue Puffy
right
for payment for music he produced.
Right.
That I guess he didn't have a contract for to get paid.
They say he's credited on the album, but I think he's not getting like royalties from it. I think he just like played the guitar and did some engineering work on it, but he feels like he should got royalties and he didn't. He just had his name on the album, so he was trying to raise the money so he could sue Puff for his royalties. That didn't go nowhere, and then he comes out with this. Well, all this stuff happened during the recording process of this album.
Rod alleges that Diddy used his fame, money, and power to exploit not just him, but others in his orbit. The difference this time, Lil Rod says he has video evidence, real footage captured while working directly under Diddy. In the studio, at meetings, even at parties. In court, Lil Rod's voice was steady at first. He described how excited he was to work with Diddy. But 20 minutes in, that calm cracked. He recounted a party at Diddy's LA mansion, celebrities, drinks, and what seemed like just another industry night. But then, he said, something shifted. Drinks flowed. The mood darkened. Some guests stayed while others were sent away. He described waking up in a bedroom, disoriented, unable to move. I knew something had been slipped in my drink, he told the court, fighting tears.
Among the allegations is that Combs forced Jones to procure sex workers and pressured him to engage in unwelcome sex acts with them and others, and that Combs gave laced alcoholic beverages to people who attended parties at his home. The lawsuit includes what it says are screenshots from gatherings hosted at Combs' homes that included underage girls as sex workers, some who he said were provided drinks that had been laced with drugs at Combs' direction.
I'm looking down at the 73-page complaint that was filed yesterday. In terms of allegations of celebrities, we're talking about Cuba Gooding Jr. being shown through still photos of what the complainant says they have videos of groping him. There are allegations of P. Diddy touching the genitalia and anus of the complainant. And also, if you look to the complaint here, there's a few Easter eggs here where it says the rapper redacted. on Mr. Combs' yacht consorting with underage girls and sex workers, and you look down to the redaction, it says, well, the person is a Philly rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. I think that may be Meek Mills. And also says an R&B singer redacted in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles home consorting with underage girls and sex workers. When you go down to the redaction, it says he's a Grammy Award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement after assaulting a Bayesian billionaire. I don't know who's a billionaire from Barbados that we know that dated someone. That sounds like Chris Brown. So there's a lot of big names here, both as Easter eggs and also just on the front pages of these allegations.
But he said they are all lies. This is a clear example of a desperate person taking desperate measures in hopes of a payday. There will be legal consequence for all defamatory statements made about the Combs family. The attorney for Combs said Jones' reckless name dropping about events that are pure fiction and simply did not happen is nothing more than a transparent attempt to garner headlines.
The disclaimer is he said that Puff didn't pay him for his beat and his publishing from that last album.
Yeah.
And prior to this, he had a GoFundMe trying to raise $50,000 to get a lawyer to sue Puff for his publishing.
Okay.
That didn't work, so he filed this.
He couldn't continue. The judge called a recess. Jurors looked shaken. When the testimony resumed, Rod detailed an assault so graphic, people left the courtroom. He claimed Diddy threatened him afterward, saying no one would believe him and that he controlled the entire industry, but it didn't stop there. According to Rod, he wasn't the only one. Other young producers and artists faced the same treatment. They all stayed silent because going against someone like Diddy doesn't just end your career, it ends your entire reputation. Rod broke down as he described the psychological toll. Sleepless nights, panic, alcohol just to function. He mentioned dates, locations, and events, suggesting this was a years-long operation, not random behavior. The lawsuit goes deeper. It outlines how Diddy allegedly orchestrated freak-off events, private parties where guests were pressured into performing sexual acts, sometimes unknowingly recorded. These recordings, Rod claims, were then used for blackmail.
I think that could lead to what the attorneys are saying, is that anybody right now can come out with these accusations because, of what happened with Cassie. So everybody's trying to get a payday, off of this whole thing. So, I did Lil Rod go to him and be like, hey, if you don't, pay me, then, I'm going to tell all of this other stuff that has been happening since, I was involved with this album. Like I have screenshots, bro. I have audio and video tape of these things that are happening. All you have to do is pay me. So what's the word? And he was like, nah. So it was like, all right.
Rod also alleges he was touched inappropriately during video shoots and even in cars, describing how he laughed it off out of fear. Even more disturbing, some of Diddy's legitimate businesses, the lawsuit claims, were fronts for illegal activity, including sex trafficking. So why now? Why speak up after all this time? Rod says fear kept him quiet. Fear of being blacklisted, fear for his safety. But things changed when he heard from other alleged victims. Their stories matched his. He realized he wasn't alone. The final straw came when Diddy allegedly approached him at an event like nothing had happened, suggesting another trip together. That night, Rod called his lawyer. Diddy's team fired back immediately, calling Rod a bitter ex-employee looking for money. They pointed to his continued work with Diddy even after the alleged events, and old posts praising him. But Rod's legal team claims he has videos, texts, emails, and 5 other witnesses ready to testify.
Yeah, Stephanie, I think the defense is going to look for people who are open to non-traditional lifestyles, who can receive evidence of what defense will sort of style as sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and not get put off and not rush to judgment. On the flip side, the prosecution is going to be looking for folks who are not going to be distracted by, the new shiny object over here, who are not going to get off course by any kind of circus the Diddy team may try to bring into this trial.
So, this has garnered much media attention. How does that factor in when it comes to selecting a jury? Because no doubt most people have heard of what is going on.
Totally. So it presents a significant problem. Here's the thing. The judge wants to find jurors who are fair and impartial and who have not already developed an opinion as to Diddy's guilt or innocence. Well, that's hard when every media outlet in the world has covered this case. They've likely already heard about it. And so what the judge is going to have to do is determine how much exposure the potential jurors have had to this Diddy saga and whether they can put that aside and simply base their verdict on what happens inside that courtroom and not everything that has gone on preceding that.
If even half of what he claims is true, this isn't just a lawsuit. It's an empire on the verge of collapse. Diddy's business ties, music catalog, and public image are already taking hits. Brands are backing away. Radio stations are going silent. But this case isn't just about Diddy. The lawsuit implies other powerful names were present at these events. If more people come forward, this could blow the lid off an entire network of abuse that's been operating in plain sight for decades. The music industry has protected the powerful for too long. That shield may finally be cracking. And Diddy? He might not fall alone.
The biggest privilege he has is a cellmate.
Do we know who this cellmate is?
Yes, the cellmate is a man named Sam Bankman-Fried. He's in federal prison for stealing billions of dollars via his cryptocurrency company called FTX. While they bunk together, they are both separated from Gen Pop.
But then there was another juror that came on the stand, or potential juror, and this juror disclosed the information that they actually work at MDC Brooklyn. Now, the issue with that is Diddy is currently locked up at NDC Brooklyn. He's been housed there since September.
So he could have got paid off. He could have got promised something, anything.
He could have
Exactly.
insider conversations.
Exactly. So the issue with that, the obvious issue with that is what you guys just said. But the bigger problem that the judge had, and he took a minute to scold both sides, the prosecutors and Diddy's team, because he's like, y'all got to do better.
How to get this far?
Yeah. How did he get to the point where he's coming in front of the court and this is being put on record?
Honestly, they are making him suffer.
Poor guy's gonna have to shower by himself.
In terms of clothing, he's allowed one tracksuit and one pair of sneakers. So I'm assuming he switches off between his jail suit and his own personal tracksuit.
Okay, I mean, I get it.
He's not allowed any access to TV or radio, but he is allowed to have a copy of the Bible and one book per week.
Oh, okay. This might be good for him.
Yeah, he needs the Bible. He has access to 300 minutes of phone time per week. That translates to an equivalent of 5 hours per week. I feel like that's a lot of phone time.
Wait, that's a good amount.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of kids, so maybe they factored that in so he could have adequate time speaking to each child. But
yeah,
he's allowed one visitor each day at a specific time, and visits can only last 1 hour. But there's a specific dress code for visitors. No sunglasses or open-toed shoes, no ripped jeans. Also, if a visitor goes to the bathroom in the middle of their meeting, the visit's over. It's done.
Oh, they can't leave after that.
Yeah. So no funny visits going on.
Yikes. Use the potty before you meet P. Diddy.
No pun intended. Children under the age of 4 must remain on a visitor's lap at all times.
This is no longer about gossip. It's about justice, about exposing what's been hidden for years. And thanks to Lil Rod, the silence has finally been broken.